Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been talking a lot about journals recently, but I have just been trying to let my YouTube channel be whatever I feel called for it to be on any given video at the minute. So I'm really leaning into the fact that you guys seem to be enjoying my journal content as much as I am making it. And it's definitely the majority of the kind of content I watch at the moment. So it feels like it makes sense to be talking about this now and doing videos like this. Sometimes I feel like my channel is having an identity crisis, and I think I'm just learning to lean into that and be okay with it. But today I want to talk about how to journal. It goes without saying, I think there is no right way to journal. So I feel like this would be more accurately titled How I Journal, because that's what I'm going to share with you today, like my approach to it. One of my really good friends was asking me recently, I'm getting really into journaling. I'm feeling really inspired by what you're talking about, but like, how do you do it? Like, what's your process? And I think it makes sense to start by saying it can be whatever you want it to be. For me, it is a creative outlet. I don't ever want journaling to be something that I can get right or wrong. I think of it kind of like a toolbox, in that I'm going to pick different tools depending on my mood, depending on what season of life I'm in. So sometimes for me, it's very scrapbook heavy. Sometimes for me, it's very stream of conscious heavy. But what I thought might be helpful today in this video is to show you examples of how to journal, like how I journal in a way that feels very cathartic. It feels fun. It feels like a way to spend less time on my screen. And I appreciate like journals are really having a resurgence at the minute. They're very like trendy. I think a lot of analog things are. And I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally here for it. I think it's sometimes when things start to trend, we can push them away as like a temporary thing. But again, the great thing about journaling is all you need is pen and paper. Like you can literally throw the paper you write on away afterwards if you don't want to read it. So there's so much flexibility in how you approach this. Now, I do have a video, the complete video like overview on my actual journals, where I talk more about them, the actual journals themselves. So in that video you will see I have an A6 Paper Republic with my gorgeous July Rose charm on, and then I have a Paper Republic A5. These are both the portfolios. I've got mine open because it's here on the desk with my notes in for this video. So this is the A5 portfolio. This one is in chestnut. No, that one's cognac, and the dark one is chestnut, I believe. So to start with, let's talk about the first kind of journaling I do, which I would generally speaking describe as kind of stream of consciousness, which I think if it was to be compared to anything would probably be the morning pages. So if anyone's familiar with, I think it's Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, I have tried to read that book so many times, and I think I get to about week 4 or 5, and then for whatever reason, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling inspired. And I know that's kind of the point, to keep doing it when you don't feel inspired, but I don't ever want journaling for me to be something that is something I have to keep up with. Like for me, it's not about discipline. It's something I do because it feels good. It's something that I've always done in my life as an outlet to express myself, as a way to remove what's up in my head onto page, to like get it out. I find that part very helpful. So I don't need it to be something I'm disciplined in, at least not at this season in my life. And that's just kind of my take on it. When I'm writing stream of consciousness, I literally sit down to the page, and kind of similar to morning pages, I will just write whatever is on my head, whether that's something that's worrying me, whether that's something I'm excited about. Sometimes it is just, here's what I need to do today. And I might have thoughts about it, like, I'm really not wanting to do this today. There's kind of like a dialogue with self. The other thing that I have brought recently, which I found interesting just to kind of experiment with in terms of stream of conscious journaling, is the Book of Alchemy. And this is by, I'm so sorry if I pronounce the name wrong, Salika Jaud. And I've taken the cover off the book, but it's beautiful, the hard copy book. Like, look at this pattern, isn't this stunning? And you can like write your name on it, which I haven't done yet. And she has a book called, I think it's called Between Two Kingdoms, which it's on my hold list at the library. And her journey is just incredible. She's a cancer survivor, and she talks about her journey of how much journaling helped her during her time in treatment and her cancer journey. And there was so much she shared that I found really, really helpful in how she described journaling. And she talked about like rage journaling. She talked about like the creative side of journaling. And I think she's a really good example of someone who shows the spectrum of how you can use a journal is wide and vast. So her book, The Book of Alchemy, what she's done, which I think is genius, especially if you find opening up a blank page just makes you feel really overwhelmed. She's actually asked lots of other writers to share kind of like a mini essay. And I say mini essay, most of these are 1 to 2 pages in the book. So you're not having to read like 10 minutes of a book. And then at the end of each essay, there's a prompt for you to do in your journal. And she did this because she was saying that she found that sometimes she herself even found with morning pages, it was when she was reading memoirs of other people or she was reading something that made her think before she would journal. It kind of gave her an interesting lens to write from in her journal. It kind of made her think before jumping into the journal. And again, both work, right? So I've really been enjoying this. I've only done about 5 days worth of it. The whole point is you can do it like a 100-day project. Again, for me, my personality, I'm very all or nothing. So I'm actually trying to live in the gray area at the minute. I'm trying to see what it's like to not have to do necessarily a 100-day project intentionally. Like if it happens that way, great. And for me, I've journaled on and off since I was like 7 years old. Like I actually think when I go home, I want to pick up my old journals I had as a kid. So that's the first kind of journaling I would say I do. And I feel like for me, the benefits of this are it gets it out of my head. When something swims around my head, it doesn't help. It kind of tends to increase in size, should we say. If it's a problem, it feels bigger. Whereas when I get it out on the page, I'm able to just confront and sit with it. And for me, journaling isn't always about like, I need to fix this or fix myself. Sometimes it's just a way to sit with, like bring to the table where I'm at, what's going on in my head. And by the same token, sometimes I will ask myself questions in my journal. I'll be like, okay, what do you want to do about this? How does that make you feel? Like sometimes it's like being your own therapist. Like I will ask myself questions that I find really helpful. So the second type of journaling I do, which is probably my favorite, I would say, is what some people call commonplace notebook journals. Some people call scrapbooking. Some people call memory keeping. I kind of put it under all in one and the same. And that for me is really just thinking about what do I want to remember and not have something that gets lost in my phone. So for me, this can look like if I'm with a friend and I want to capture a memory, I want to print it out so I can see it and put the date of it, what we chatted about, what we did together. It could be something I've read in a book that moved me that I want to remember. The general point of the kind of scrapbooking, note-keeping element of journaling for me is to remember something. So unlike my kind of stream of consciousness journals, I genuinely wouldn't care if I never saw them again. Like maybe old lady Harry will enjoy reading them one day, but I don't write them to be re-seen. They're very like, blah, blah, blah. Like that, there's no word to describe it other than that. That noise. So I feel like for me, the memory keeping, and the funny thing is it's been the thing I've kept up the most in outside of like stream of consciousness journaling, because I've always done that. Whereas making a conscious effort to memory keep, whether it is things I remember suddenly from being a kid that I want to kind of return to, or it might be something that I've seen someone share where I'm like, I want to try that, whether it's a DIY craft thing that I'm like, yes, I want to make that. And sometimes it's, like I said, really random things like going to a bookstore where they gave me a sticker and being like, yes, I want to remember these things. Like these were cute moments. I recently went to one of my favorite stationery shops in Pasadena, and the lovely girl who worked there called Ashley, she wrote down more stationery shops I needed to go see. And I've just stuck the Post-it in. So my pages aren't always like super aesthetically pleasing. Like I said, when I've seen people who do that, I have so much respect for it and it's beautiful. But I feel like the time it takes to make it look pretty kind of takes me out of the experience. So I love that I have Post-its in here. I do have things I've seen, like I saw this image on, someone shared this on Substack, and I just thought it was really interesting. And it reminded me to kind of like look around and look for shapes when I'm traveling. But again, nothing has a real rhyme or reason. Like I'm going to share recipes. that I want to, I kind of record recipes that I made that I really enjoyed. My latest obsession is wanting to build a book nook. Like, I really want to turn, I don't know how I'm going to do it or when it's going to happen. I need to save money to do this, but to make like a kind of book nook in my office. Things like brooches that I've thrifted where I'm like, oh, this is so cute, like on an old H&M dress I've got. It makes that dress look really fancy, and I really enjoyed that. So it's ideas, it's creativity, it's memory keeping, it's everything. And for me, often what I'll do is I'll be sat like at my dining table, I make a pot of tea, and I'll usually just like go through my phone and look at anything that I've screenshot or anything that I've saved that I'm like, yes, I want to remember that. And that's how it starts. I'll put them in some Canva templates, print them out, and then I'm pretty much good to go. And even like the cutting out process, I put nice music on when I do this. It just feels like being a kid when you kind of stick things, when you're cutting things out. It's so simple that it's so enjoyable. So that is very much, I would say, like those two processes. And like I said, my journals that I have, my ones in my A5, I keep two. The first one is for like my daily journal. And then the second book I have, and I love these Paper Republic notebooks that lie flat. They are so good. This one is for my writing. So this is where, for example, this video today, I might write bullet points, things I want to go through, and I'll write ideas. Often if I'm doing like a Substack post, I might kind of start to write it out here, or at least the main things I want to cover, just because my ideas, I always find they come better on pen and paper before I go to the screen or the computer. So I'm going to show you a list that I wrote down in my commonplace journal, which I actually think I'm going to make, and I might laminate this. I might be a little bit extra and laminate it and put it inside the covers of my journals. I actually have a running list of prompts, like journal prompts, like things to journal on, which I've collected from various different YouTube videos, various different Substacks that I'm always adding to. So, for example, I'll read you what I have. I have dreams, recipes, record keeping, scrapbooking, list of things I find beautiful, places I'd like to visit, places I visited, favorite memories, quotes, a letter to someone that I have no intention of sending. That is one of my favorite things to do for journaling. If you're looking to kind of like get something out of your head, try writing a letter that no one's ever going to see. Highly recommend. A list of favorite things at the moment, how I felt about a certain book I've read, or like book reviews, film reviews, how I'm feeling currently, a letter to my future self, a letter to my past self, a letter to someone I love or loved. I have to be read lists, I have films I want to watch, I have wish lists, I have authors I want to read and kind of like essays I want to see as well as books. What am I holding on to that I need to let go of? What do I want to hold on to? What do I want? And I think the Elizabeth Gilbert one is, Dear Love, what would you have me know today? And all of these, like, especially if I go to like a solo coffee shop in a book, a solo date, say like in a coffee shop, and I just want to get a nice coffee and take my journals. I don't go with a plan. More times than not, either I just start writing or scrapbooking and it just comes out, or I just go to this list and I find it really nice to be like, yeah, what do I want to write about? Like, what do I want to spend time creating in this journal? Whether it's an expression of how I feel currently, whether it's sticking things in, and again, sometimes even things that I've printed out, I'll take with me to the coffee shop. And in my stationery video, which I'll link up here, you'll be able to see the things I take with me if I'm going to do like a solo journal date. All my kind of stationery favorites are in there. But I think having a list that you can keep in your journal is a really nice way to kind of have that inspiration ready. Of course, you can just go and just journal whatever comes out, but sometimes it is nice to have a prompt to be like, yeah, I want to write, I want to use my nice pens, I want to do pen and paper, but actually I'm looking for a prompt. So obviously you can create your own. I like to collect prompts that other people give me. It's another reason why this book has been really fun, to have somebody kind of give me a prompt and just write from there. So that is it for today's video. Let me know if you want more journaling content. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a journaling playlist, like a journal planner playlist, because I've always dabbled with like journal and planner content throughout my channel, but I'm excited to kind of like have some more recent things. So there will be more style stuff coming soon. I have a favorites video coming up, but I'm really enjoying talking about journaling and these things that bring me a lot of joy. So let me know what you like to journal about. Again, something that would be great to do is if everyone could give their favorite journal prompt in the comments. Let's do that. Everyone, if you have one, if you don't have one, make one up. Give us all a journal prompt that we can add, and I can add them to my list. Very excited to do that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, I would really appreciate it if you give it a like, subscribe, and yeah, I can't wait to see you in the next one.